Yeah, there we go. Great. Hey, good to see you.
Hey,
Thanks for being
Tomás.
here.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tomás.
this is,
Hola.
this is a special treat for me because I get to see who's here. So, huh? All right.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's bring ourselves in here in a good way.
Wait, Tom,
Yeah.
you have a candle near the camera?
No.
It's so weird. You're getting that vignette around you again. It's kind of cool, but it's a little odd.
He looks
Okay.
luminous.
Yeah.
Well, it looks a little odd. Hey, what else can I say? Why should this day be different?
Yeah.
I've been told I'm a
Yep.
little odd, and I believe everybody who told me that. Here it is, Dr. Waddy, and here's with your help, Dr. Waddy, get some salvia here. Oh, put you over there, and get my eagle feather here. Send you out some blessings there, everybody.
Oh.
Hey, Else, yeah. And to those of you coming later, blessings on your lives. Oh, and let's just take a minute and just invite us all to drop in here from whatever the day is, like shake off the energy of the day that doesn't serve and just open to the vibrations coming in to kind of give you a little energy massage to come really fully present in our bodies, our breath, our awareness. Ah, oh, okay. Smoothing out the wrinkles, you might say. So let's see a couple of things here. This is an experiment. So we're doing for the first time with Brother Ronan's help and Keith backup. We're doing going live on 3 channels, and a couple of things in regard to that. One is if you have a question you want to ask. I'm going to stop at 20 of. That's my intention, to stop at 20 of, and questions. Give some time for questions and responses, and then we'll do a closing. So if you have any questions you want to ask or requests about anything, Ronan, how do they do that? How do they say that?
So at the bottom of the window there's a little chat button. It looks like a little message bubble, and if you click on that, you can type a message in, and everyone can see it.
Okay, and so at the end, Ronan will call on somebody. But let's just check out that whole system. So if you got anybody in a couple of words just to say what you're feeling. I'm feeling excited about this. I'm a little nervous about how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to go, but what the hell? That's what life is, huh?
Yep.
So, excited about just the adventure of being able to see people. I'm so happy to see everybody. So I'm very excited. So if you have a couple of words you want to say just about what you're feeling, just raise your hand, and then Ronan can unmute you. Anybody got any couple of words about what you're feeling right now?
Yeah,
It's
I
wonderful to be here.
Yeah, good to have you.
Yeah, hi, this is Deborah. Just so happy to see all these faces, and I teach all day long on Zoom, so this is very normal for me, but it's good to be on this end of the Zoom instead of on Tomas's end of the Zoom.
Yeah.
Anyway, just so grateful.
Yeah, Deborah, your face was all in the dark until a moment ago, and then all of a sudden it became lighter. So it's great to see you. There you go. I want to see who you are, so good for you. All right, Hefe, you raised your hand?
Yeah, it's good to be here.
All right.
Finally. Good to see everybody.
Okay, and Wendy and Keith and Rosie and Carolyn, it's great. Okay, so that takes care of that part. We know that part works. And I said about the chat thing. And for anybody who's watching later, who's not a member, because people can watch this on YouTube and now on Zoom. So if anybody who's not a member would like to be a member, go to spiritualmedicineteachings.com, and then you can sign up and be a member. And of course, that $9 a month helps me keep going at a time I've lost most of my income. And even more important than that, it brings in more more people that join up, the stronger energy field we have to do the work that empowers all of us. So appreciate that. Okay, so let me just drop in here. I was asking Spirit, it's an interesting process for me doing this, because a couple of days before, when I'm going into the dreaming at night, I start asking Spirit and Tatawadi and the ancestor spirits and great grandmother growth. So what do you want me to talk about? It's your show, it's your thing. So what do you want me to? And then so then I just open up, going into the dreaming, and then just watch what comes through. So I want to share some of what came through, and then open it up for that questions and responses stuff. So let me just drop into it here. Yeah, first I want to say I just saw, some of you might know, Willie Kay is a famous Hawaiian musician. Goes way back, and he just crossed over a couple of days ago, and of course Little Richard crossed over a couple of days ago. So thank you for those two soulful men bringing through beautiful music, helping to open hearts and souls and spirits. And then I also just saw, Andrew just called me in a little while ago, this huge flooding in Michigan. And so people you can see homes being floating away. So just prayers for, people are already in isolation and quarantine, and now what are they going to do? So there's such hardship and suffering. So sending out healing light and love to all those people, and support and strength. And, yeah. So okay. So the coronavirus, it kind of busted the beast. It stopped the beast in its tracks for a while, and it gave us opportunity to look at what's been going on, and what might be going on that could be different. That's more in harmony and balance with the cycles and rhythms of how life really works. And now we're at a place where we're starting to return. Different states are opening up this, that, and the other thing. And the place that Andrew and I couldn't walk our dogs a couple of days ago, now it's open. So now we're in this new part of the journey of the return. So it brings up, well, what's important to return with? What's it an opportunity to return with, so we might create another way of being that's more in harmony and balance with the way the universe actually works, the way nature actually works, instead of going against it. So when I asked that question into the mystery and listening, so it was like 5 or 6 things came through about return. And the first one, and they all start with R. So so I just offer this as stimulus to your own creative thinking, your own wisdom guidance about how you might be able to return from what has been, from the pause, you might say, and what Spirit wants to create through you, might want to use you to help create a different way of doing it. So first R of return was resonance. Importance to return with resonance. And just want to share a quick little story communicate about resonance. My first Native American teacher, who guided me on Vision Quest almost 50 years ago, he said to me, when you come back from a Vision Quest, you should be exhausted. And so I said, well, what? How come? I thought I'd come back high and all excited and all turned on from being out there and the visions or whatever. He said, you should be exhausted. And he said to me, when was the last time you lied down on Mother Earth and you put your face to her body and you thanked her for everything she's given you all the days of your life? Brings up tears for me even to say that. And when he said that to me, I was totally busted, because the answer was nunca, never done that. He said, that's what you do on a Vision Quest. That's reverence. That you go to each of those sacred directions that surround you, and the vertical direction above, below, and the center, and you give thanks. That's reverence. So the importance of returning with reverence. And what was the second one? Oh yeah, so the second one is the important to return with recognition. And recognition of what? Recognition of the truth of our being, that we're sacred, worthy, luminous beings, that we are love, and our love is forgiving, and that we're interconnected and interdependent with all of the cosmos, with all of nature, all of the cosmos. No such thing as a separate thing. Important to come back with reverence, important to come back with recognition of what's true. And of course, when we put our energy in the thought forms that are true, we get a little juicier. Put our thought forms into energy, we put our energy into thought forms that are not true, like we're anything other than a sacred, worthy, luminous being of love that's forgiving, and the system, the wisdom of the system goes crunch, constricts, and no, that's not true. It's shuts down, constricts. So recognition, reverence and recognition. And then respect, like Aretha sang, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect. So there's a little poem from, well, not kind of poem, from Paula Underwood Spencer. Maybe some of you know her writing. She's a native feminist who writes beautifully about bringing back reverence and respect for the feminine. And this is entitled Universe. Universe is space which contains energy. Energy of its nature moves, and as it moves, it produces change. We're going through change on the return. What's going to be? What's going to happen? What can we do? What can't we do? What's safe? What's not safe? The uncertainty, even more so uncertainty. How to navigate through that. Change is, it was, it is, it will be. Sometimes we call this past, present, and future. And we say it is time, but it's not time. It's change. You see how it is, how everything in the universe is energy flowing from one place to another. What we call matter is merely a relatively stable form of energy, which is also moving, also changing, only more slowly, like Mother Ocean, like Mother Earth, each at its own pace. All things contain energy, are alive, as all things are formed of energy, and all things are alive, and all things are related, each to the other, always. Paula Gunn, Monterios. So we got reverence, we got recognition, we got respect, and we got responsibility. I've said this before, but it's worth saying again. When Mother Earth first came into being, molten gases just coming together, and then the processes of evolution, the water came miraculously from meteors coming from outer space. Water came to Earth. It's mind-boggling how that happened. And then out of the water, eventually one-celled beings came, and then the swimming people, and then some of them came up on so there were the rocks, and then there was then the plants, and then the swimming people, and then the animals up on land, and then we came. So we're the last guys on the block. And everybody who came before us does not need us here. The rock people, the swimming people, the plant people, the animal people don't need us here. In fact, they were doing a lot better before we were here. We got off on this bender that we've been on for so many years, going against the way the universe works. We've broken the sacred covenant. So we have a responsibility to get back to the sacred covenant. And the essence of getting back to the sacred covenant is the next R, 3 R's, reciprocity of right relationship. Reciprocity of right relationship. And the basic dynamic of that is the recognition that we're totally dependent on all those who came before us. We are totally 100% dependent on all of them for our lives. And they've been given to us all along, or we wouldn't be here. And we forgot how to give back to them with gratitude. And that's what leads to the crunching up of what we're experiencing. So the reverence, the recognition, the respect, the responsibility to restore the sacred covenant through recognizing the reciprocity, the sacred reciprocity of right relationship. That as we take, which we need to do to live, we give back. We give back with ceremony, with prayer, with gratitude. We give back, restoring sacred balance. And what can happen when we do that, when we create that resonance through bringing back all those R's that I spoke about into our lives on this return, it opens the Nayarika, opens the doorway to amazing things that can happen. So I wanted to share an experience that's an example of this, of what can happen. So many years ago, over 40 years ago, when I was working for the Center for Attitudinal Healing with children and families with life-threatening illness, there was one, I got close to a lot of families and a lot of kids. The first group at the center was children with life-threatening illness, and there was one boy there, Jimmy. I got really, really close with him, and he had an older brother, a couple of years older, and really close with his parents, and came to the groups, support groups in the center for a long time. And Jimmy had leukemia, and in those days, they didn't have a lot of the cures they have now for childhood leukemia, so it was usually pretty lethal, and time was getting shorter for Jimmy, and it was just about the time I was invited to go up to Ashland, Oregon, by a family that had come down to visit the children's group for their son, who was about Jimmy's age, and I had a good connection with that young boy in the children's group and his family, and so they asked me if I would come up to Ashland, Oregon, to meet with parents up there who had kids with life-threatening illness, and to do like a training about working with attitudinal healing and starting a center for attitudinal healing up there. So I said, sure, I'd love to come up there and do that. And when Jerry Jampolsky, who started the center, and I were invited to different groups to speak, we'd usually bring one or more kids from the children's group to be a part of that sharing, so the audience wasn't just hearing from, the adults going blah, 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 but hearing from the kids who were like in it, what was helpful to them. And so that always spoke, I think, a lot better than whatever Jerry and I said. So there was another boy in the children's group there I was close with, and his family. And the family had a lot of travel plans, but his illness got in the way of that, and he was very disappointed and sad about that. So when I got invited up to Ashland, he was in, not relapse, but he was the chemotherapy had been working for him for a while, so remission. He was okay for a while. So I got the idea, I wonder if the family would be open to letting Eric go with me. We'd have a little adventure, to be up there for a couple of days, and so I asked the family about that. And first of all, I asked Eric to see if he was interested. He said, yeah, he got all excited. So it was great. Well, let me talk to your mom and dad now and see if they're willing to let you go off with me up into the wilds of Oregon and do whatever. So I talked to the mom and dad, and they trusted me. And so Eric and I flew up to the family up in Oregon. They paid for us to fly up there. And we were met at the airport by young man who was a reporter, and he was going to do for the local paper. So he was going to do an article about Eric and I coming up there, and the presentation we did, and meeting with the parents and all that kind of thing. So before we met with the parents that night, he said, well, let me take you on a little tour. This was Ashland. It's a beautiful place and not too far from Crater Lake, which I'd never been to. So he took us to Crater Lake, and we had a wonderful time. So as we were driving along, it turns out he had a 5-year-old son who had died the year before in a drowning accident. And he told me about how he had met a man named J.C. Eaglesmith, who was a Lakota white, and who happened to be in town in Ashland doing some sweat lodges, and he met J.C. And J.C., he was grieving in the sweat lodge at the loss of his son, and J.C. Eaglesmith told him about a Lakota ritual called the spirit staff, that when somebody dies, you can make a spirit staff, and what that is you get a long stick that's about the height of or the length of the person who's crossed, and you get some of their shoes and you attach them to the bottom of the staff, and then you put some of the clothes onto the staff, and then you put a crystal on top and maybe some things, a hat or something on the top, and then you do, when the person crosses, you do a pipe ceremony with the family, and then a year later, the person who does that, and so every day thereafter, that spirit staff, it's called the spirit staff, has to be fed. You have to make some offering to it. So you're the person who's crossed in their spirit for that period of the year. You're feeding their spirit for a whole year, every day. You need to make a commitment to do that every day. And at the end of the year, the pipe holder who did the ceremony comes back and you do a releasing. You do another pipe ceremony, and a year later, and release the spirit back into the oneness of Great Spirit. And by the way, Great Spirit, thank you for bringing us together here today. And thank you for all these good relatives here, and we'll be joining later in their own times at work. And thank you for the gifts of protection and health and wellness for all our relatives. All we hold in our heart, may it be so, and grow stronger through the time that we're here together, joining our hearts and minds and spirits to polish up our stardust, so more consistently we can live love now, which is the only time we've got. So thank you for all of that. So JC tells the reporter about all of this, and he said, well, I'd like to try it. I mean, he's deep in his grief. And so they did that. And he tells me about this and how meaningful that was for him. I was very touched by that. And I said, well, I wonder if that might be, helpful for any of the kids I'm working with down at the center at some point, if they cross. And so lo and behold, a year or so later, little Jimmy, who's just a really sweet young boy, and just a really sweetheart. So he's getting to the end, all the treatments at work, one after another. I went down he had a bone marrow transplant. I flew down with the parents to UCLA and sat with him going through that. It's horrendous, and just such suffering. And it didn't work. And so we got to the place where his mother called me and said, he's got another day or so, and that's it. So I went over to see him, and I was moved, like Spirit was moving through me, and said, tell him about the Spirit staff. Tell him about that Spirit staff, and see if he'd like his older brother, Steve, who I was really close with as well, to be the one to make that Spirit staff, all the family contribute to it, and then Steve would be the one to feed it for a year. So I said, Jimmy, what do you think? Would that be something that you're what you're going into that might give you a little peace inside as you face your death there? He was a 10-year-old. And he listened for a while. He just went into his own looks within place and listened for a little while. And he said, yeah, I'd like that. He had a little smile on his, emaciated face, just brought a little joy to him. Said, okay, well, great. I need to go talk to your mom and your dad. They may or may not go for it because his mom was a regular Christian church goer and very tolerant and progressive. But I thought that might, this pagan, weirdness might be a little, off-putting. And so I said, I'll go talk to them and see what they say. So I went and talked to mom and dad, and they listened really hard. And the mom, Isabel, asked me, what did Jimmy say? So Jimmy said he'd like to do it. Brings up tears for me again. So I told her that, and she said, well, Jimmy wants to do it, let's do it. And so I said, well, that would mean you sitting with this Native American man coming to the house and us doing a ceremony with the pipe. And I explained a little bit about that. So he said, yeah, I'm good with that. So I said, okay, we got the green light from the family. But now the problem is, the challenge is, I have no idea where J.C. Eaglesmith is. He travels all around the country doing medicine, doing sweat lodge ceremonies and pipe ceremonies. It's like he held the pipe. There's two ways of holding the pipe. One is as a social pipe with your family. It's just kind of a social pipe. It's always sacred. But the other is you hold it as a sacred pipe that, as Arvel Looking Horse told me, when he blessed my pipe many years ago, he said, if people want to pray with that pipe, then that's you. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you go and you take that pipe there and you pray for them. So J.C. Eaglesmith was all over the country. I didn't know where he was. And so I called the reporter to see up in Oregon, because I had his phone number, and Eaglesmith didn't have a phone. Didn't have those iPhones and all that stuff a long time ago. I didn't have a phone anyway. But the reporter didn't know how to get a hold of him. And so I just kind of went home and I just did some prayers and just sent it out into the web, in which everything's connected, that this is what's happening with this beautiful young boy, Jimmy. And I think his family and him would really like to have that ceremony. done. And so if you're anywhere around, and you come into Marin County, please contact me because I would really like to do this, and Jimmy doesn't have much time. So I put that prayer out, and then I wanted to go get some lunch. The center was down in Tiburon, and I wanted to go get some lunch. There's a place right downtown, a block away. That I usually go for lunch, get a healthy lunch. So I was walking over there to that restaurant, and Spirit kind of softly says to me, he said, no, don't go there. Go to that health food store in Santa Fe. They got a great sandwich there that you like, and you haven't been there for a long time, so go there instead. And my resistance voice said, no, because I got to get on the freeway, and then I got to drive, and there'll be traffic, and I got to look for a place to park, and it's a pain in the ass. And I just wanted to go here, and Spirit said, just stop your whining and just go to that other restaurant. And it went smack me upside the face. So I said, okay, all right. So I get in my car and I drive, get on the freeway and go up the freeway north to Santa Fe and get off and go over to the restaurant and little health food store there in downtown Santa Fe and find a place to park, walk in to the restaurant. It's a small little restaurant, just a little bar there, little health food bar. Nobody's at the bar except one person. J.C. Eagleson. Sitting there, just blew my mind. So I told him the story, and we went and, of course, did the ceremony, and it was very touching. Jimmy died the next day, and Steve fed the staff for the year, and a year later, J.C. came back into town, and we went out in the woods and took the staff and did the releasing. It was a very powerful experience. Wow. So I just share that as an example of what's possible. With Spirit's help, anything's possible in this life. And the only thing that really limits it is our own thought forms that say that's not possible. So as we look at, each of us looks at our own integrity and our own guidance about how to make this return. It's like listening, honoring, respecting with reverence the wisdom of our heart as like an organ of perception, of spiritual and deeper wisdom guidance perception, and listening to your own wisdom guidance from your heart about how Spirit wants to use you in coming back, and your version of the resonance, coming back with resonance and respect and recognition and the sacredness of reciprocity. Any of those ideas might speak to you, so you can bring that back in and be part of, through listening how your heart calls you to what you can do differently on the return to help birth the kind of world that we have the potential to birth, which is a win-win world for all beings, a healthy, just world. We have the potential to do that. And that's what the evolutionary pressures are calling all of us to do. And each of us has our own medicine gifts. Each of us has our own medicine to share. And it's not about evaluating or comparing it to anybody else. It's just honoring the truth and wisdom and beauty of what's inside of you and listening in your heart to that organ of spiritual perception, how it guides you to make this return, step back into this opening there, through this Neorika, this doorway, into this return, knowing that anything is truly possible when we have that right resonance with the universe, because that's the access point to the field of infinite potential. So that's the story I wanted to share, just in support of all of us and the medicine each of us carry. So at this point, I'd like to open it up here. And once again, just see more people coming in, Sister Janice and Sandy and Micah and everybody. It's great to see you guys. Nikki, hey, it's great to see everybody. Blessings on your line. So, La Puerta, this is the first time we're really opening it up here. La Puerta está abierta, the doorway's open. So, any questions you want to ask about anything, any requests you want me to respond to, not that I have any answers, but we can tune in the Spirit and see what comes through. So, preguntas, questions, Sandy, yeah. Oh, I can't hear you. You got to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question I have is, how do you know it's Spirit talking to you?
Great question. But first, let me give a little intro to you, Sandy. Sandy and I go back I think more than 40 years ago, when we were both working at, she was a scientist in biochemistry at UC Medical Center in San Francisco, and I was going to see families and kids there in the cancer unit, and that's where we met. And then we had a good connection and just stayed together through the medicine retreats and walk on communities. And Sandy, take a minute, Sandy, and share what you do, because Sandy does some amazing work. It's important for people to know about that. Take a moment, please.
Okay, I'll flesh out where we met. I was doing cancer research on leukemias in children. So Tom would come and give support to the kids in pediatric oncology. And he also gave support to a couple of us who were doing unconventional stuff with the children. Gloria was there doing art therapy. We had a puppet therapist, and I was doing slideshows of healthy cells, not just healthy cells, the molecules of life. So I was hanging out with the kids in pediatric oncology also. And so Tom came to give us support to the three of us who were there. I mean, I was given permission to be there because I had all this research money and I was doing all this research in leukemias. And related to what his story was, when a little child that I got really close with looked like he was going to die, I didn't have a clue what to do. I thought I was going to fall apart. So I knew the medical staff wasn't people I could go to, so I called Tom to see, how do I deal with this? With this first little child, he became like one of my own. How do I deal with his death? He said, you don't deal, you feel. And he's like, I didn't want to. That's why I was calling him. I knew I'd fall apart. So I went to the office, and I expected a clinical psychologist, pristine office, and he's sitting on the floor with smudge, all these ritual paintings on the wall. So, I mean, he's been my teacher for 40 years, even when I'm not in his presence. So my work has been making visible the invisible, from the cells to the molecules to how do we know ourselves? How do we know the wisdom that we're born here with, the cellular wisdom, the biology, the sacred teachings in our molecules. It's pretty far out stuff, but not but. It's what I know I've been called to do, even though I have fought it. So the last thing I will mention about my work is I basically have photographed from stardust. I photographed minerals, the last beyond wine. I've been asked to photograph minerals related to astrology. This is in the late 70s. I'm a serious scientist. If you get that, you gotta be kidding. Astrology? No way. Anyway, I photographed the 12 minerals because I figured I can show them to kids. And when I photographed the 12 minerals, I saw 4 shapes. I was like, is there any quality of 4 in astrology? Because I'm the investigator. Yeah, there were the 4 elements. Water had a shape. They all had specific elemental shapes. All the minerals related to earth signs were round. All the minerals related to fire signs were hexagons. All the minerals related to air signs were square. And then water was...
Sandy, excuse me. I'm gonna interrupt you, so pardon me for doing that, but I want to leave time to respond to your question as well as other people might have a question. So let me just say, Sandy does workshops, training workshops and all kinds of stuff. So send out your information about those to our website, and then people can follow up and take your stuff. So sorry for interrupting, but that's why I did it.
I could go on and on, and
I know that. I can too. So, all right. So you asked, how do I know it's spirit when I hear an inner calling, like an example I just said? Right? Is that your question? Yeah. Well, the truthful answer is it might not be spirit. It might just be my unconscious, or it might be who knows what, some voice inside. I don't know definitively. I don't know, but I kind of put it in a practical cognitive framework of I listen to my heart. Number one, I listen to the wisdom of my heart. Does it feel right? Does that feel right? Not necessarily comfortable or even that I like it, because a lot of times it's taking me out of my comfort zone to do something. But that's a test I put it to. And then I asked the question of, if I did this, would it be hurtful to anyone in any way? Then I'm not going to do it. I listen to is this coming from my ego seeking whatever, and I listen for that, and I just over time with this kind of listening, for me, it's like I can feel a vibration in my heart when it's coming from spirit. When it's coming from ego, it's like coming from here. And it reminds me also of the importance for me of listening. That again, maybe 50 years ago, when I was working with drug addicts, and a good friend of ours that was a volunteer at the program, the treatment program, where I was doing the wilderness program with heroin addicts, she got cancer, and she came over to our house, and she was pretty, devastated. And while she was talking to us, all of a sudden, I was hearing this guidance inside of me about saying some things to her about her cancer, which was not in the framework of our relationship. It was totally not in the framework. And my fear and anxiety inside said, no, you can't say that to her. You can't bring that up. That's not okay. So I didn't. And she left. And when she left, all of a sudden I was struck down with pain that literally knocked me to the floor. And so I listened to the pain, and the pain said, this is not a punishment. This is just letting you see, this is what happens, how your system gets clogged up when we ask you to do something and you don't do it. It doesn't matter whether you're frightened or scared to death and you're anxious and feeling confident. That's just your ego. Forget about that. Just don't deny it, but just keep, when we tell you to do something, do it, because the price you're going to pay if you don't do it is going to be worse than whatever your anxiety or fear is about doing it. So that pain was so severe that I got it. I said, okay, you tell me what you want me to do from now on, and I'm willing to do the best I can in my own bumbling way, even if I feel anxious or frightened or confident. It's not my work anyway, it's you through me. So that was a really powerful experience of discernment, of listening through the heart as an organ of spiritual perception. So in the bottom line, is it really spirit? I don't know, but it seems to be working for me in terms of leading me into doing things like this. Keith heard his dad from the spirit world saying for me to start doing this, and to listen inside, and it felt right to do. So that's how it is for me. Not I could go forever. Is it spirit? Isn't spirit? So I just let go of that, drop it in the heart. Does it feel right in my heart to do for those reasons with that vibration? If it is, I do it. So does that help?
Yeah, it's about how does it feel?
Yeah, in the heart. Yeah, the heart is an organ of perception, spiritual perception. Okay, so anybody else? Who else? Yes, sir.
In a similar vein, how do you know the difference between fear and prudence?
Well,
You understand?
how would you describe prudence? What's the definition of being careful? Like,
Yeah, like listening to rationality as opposed to just it's just fear speaking.
Well, first of all, Jonathan, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Good to make this connection. Jonathan and I are relatively new in this connection, so it's great to see you. So let's see. How do I know the difference between prudence and fear?
Yeah, when is fear speaking, in your head, and when is it actual rational prudence?
Well, I don't know about you, but fear is a pretty constant companion for me. Whenever I'm contemplating or whenever I'm guided or asked to do something that's not in my comfort zone, it usually, just like doing this today with live, what we're doing right now, I had some fear and anxiety about that. Anything that's not in my ego's comfort zone brings up fear. So something I deal with every
Sure.
day. And so I've learned not to, it's not that the fear goes away, it's gone away. I'm such an enlightened being that I don't have fear. It's a companion every day. It's more learning from the pain and suffering I produced for myself for the first 20 years of my life. Well, from 5, I guess from 3 after my dad died to 20, when medicine opened me up, I totally gave my power to fear. Unconsciously, it was like gripped me. And it wasn't until medicine opened me up and I saw the degree that how fear had constricted me. And on a mountain climbing experience, fear of heights, tremendous fear of heights as a little boy. And so when I started the Wilderness Project, the vital component of it was rock climbing and mountain climbing. And so there I am in my fears. And when I went through a 10-day training course with outward bound teachers, they brought in all their teachers from around the country for 10 days in Yosemite to climb in the big walls in Yosemite. They were all professional climbers, but they wanted them to go through the administrators of Outward Bound wanted their teachers to learn the Yosemite method of teaching climbing. And I was one of 3 people there who weren't climbers. I was there to be to help them deal with young people into drugs, consultant to them. But I'm going through the climbing thing, and I'm freaking out. I'm just totally freaking out. And they teach us how to the ropes to climb, the calls, the safety mechanisms, how you work with a partner on a rope and you secure the safety and how you maintain it and all that kind of thing. So that took a whole day. The next day we're going to go do the climb, start a climb on the walls at Yosemite. I am praying for rain, for snow, for an earthquake, that I break my leg or anything that I don't have to do this. None of those prayers weren't answered. And so we get to the base of the mountain and now it's like, got to start climbing. And I look up at this thing and I say, there's absolutely that's impossible. That's totally impossible. I said, well, maybe it's possible for the Outward Bound teachers, but it's totally impossible for me. Lo and behold, the short of it, at the end of the day, I'm on top of a mountain. Nobody carried me up there. And that broke open a really constricted place in my control room that said, how many times in your life have you not done something because you gave the power of the fears that said it's not possible? And I saw, a million things in my life up to that. I've cheated myself out of my life so far. And so I have to give myself permission now to be as frightened and insecure and, whatever ego things, thought form my ego can cook up, but don't give it the power to stop me from going forward, and do it responsibly. So the prudence comes in as an example of climbing also, because there's in climbing, of course, you're always at a risk. There's a safety system that if it works, you're going to be okay. If you do this stuff right, you're going to be okay, both partners. But what you can't control is, a rock might fall from above and hit you. Or there's sometimes birds swoop by and you're just about to make a tricky move and you miss the move and you fall back and the protection you put in doesn't hold and under the weight of the fall and boom, there you go. So there's a saying in climbing about there's responsible risks and there's irresponsible risks. So pay attention to the information, the data. The universe is, we live in a universe that's always communicating. It's always communicating information on every level, the micro to the macro, because it's all vibration, which contains information and energy. It's always giving us information about, if we're attuned to it, we're open to it. The more we're in ego identity and more are in I grade, then the pipes are clogged up with that, not open to, with humility, to the information that's always available about how to be in harmonious resonance relationship with the situation. So with prudence and fear is a constant companion. Pay attention to getting the information about what's a responsible risk, what's an irresponsible risk. And in my case, I always try to not do things that are an irresponsible risk, although they might be considered that some of the things I do by other people. but I got to live with me, if I'm truthful about it, there are some times when I've pushed the envelope that even I was like, well, I'm not sure this is a responsible risk, but the calling was so strong that the bottom line is, well, I've got to be willing to die. The truth is, if I do this, it might not work, and I might physically die, and I need to be willing to face that, not be in denial of it. And is it important enough? Is the call inside me strong enough to face that risk? And there have been times that has been so. So does that help?
It's great, man. And I'll give you a real quick response so someone else can jump in. It was a great response because, well, I've been struggling with this idea about moving to Germany. And the sense of accomplishment I ever had when I was a person, I was 14, I was on an outward bound program in Wales, and we were doing a rock climb, the first rock climb I'd ever done. And I was scared to death because I had a fear of heights. And I got halfway up the rock climb, and I was like, I can't go on. I was shit scared. I couldn't go on, but I couldn't go back. And they just kept on saying, keep going, keep going. And I finished the climb, and I had this amazing sense of accomplishment. And it was the first time in my life I had that. So I find the synchronicity with the fact that you brought up an outward bound story incredibly telling. I also thought it was a really great answer. Like what you had to said was, factually intelligent. And I think, well, really good advice is what I'm saying. It was just a really complete answer and really good advice. And thanks, man.
Okay, yeah, right. Well, just to take a moment, I was factually intelligent. New experience.
Well, it was just in completely rational answer.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really, really helpful.
Well, good. Thanks for asking it. This is the real richness that, by the way, I want to give thanks to Brother Ronan who set all of this up so we could do this.
Thank you.
Yay.
Fantastic. And okay, we got time maybe for one more, and then we'll leave time for a little closing so we can do some work to polish up our starlights. So, Deborah, you got your hand up then?
Yes.
No, wait a minute, Deborah, did you have your hand up? Or
No, I was waving to Keith about his response. Hi.
Okay, so Hasso, Brother Hasso. By the way,
Yeah.
Hasso is a naturopath for anybody who doesn't know, and he does Ayurvedic medicine, and also put out on the website, our website, some of what you do. Because years ago when I had a major back injury and I was on my back for 2 months, I couldn't even sit up. Hasso was really helpful with his healing mojo. So what you got, my brother?
Hey, I remember there was a time years and years ago where you were struggling so much with that part inside of you that was reactive, that felt like irritated, and I don't know if it was with Andrea or somehow there was a lot of the issue of kind of managing your inner kind of reactivity. And at that time, I was just kind of more watching that, and I remember that, and I was thinking, wow, it's really working him, and because it wasn't working me at that time, right? But now I have such a different perspective because I feel like I sometimes tap into these places, and I'm really exploring them. I'm exploring. It's just kind of this. Kind of hitting certain places of an incapacity, I would describe it, to deal with what is in that moment, and kind of feeling the outrageousness, in my own soul. And I'm just kind of wondering, what was a tool because I know you have explored that in great depths, and I just wanted to see what was it that came through, because I feel also this time we live in brings up so much. It brings up so many positive things, and it brings up so much shit also because of the outrageousness of what's happening politically and on so many levels,
Also, excuse me for interrupting, but we're running out of time, so focus your question.
So the question is really, what would you say, what was the most helpful to you into kind of taming, but not taming is maybe not the right word, but outgrowing, transforming really, that inner reactivity. I think that's what you used to call it, the inner reactivity.
Yeah. Well, the short answer to that is learning how to befriend it. Learning how to befriend basically my reptilian mind, my reptilian brain, which included getting to know it better and recognizing it was not going to go away. And this is, by the way, it's not a fait accompli. This is something I deal with every day. And I think your word taming is a good way to describe the process. How to tame that potential inside of me that can get triggered in an instant and come out with attack, vicious attack. So the start of the process of that taming was recognizing and accepting it's not going to go away. Those functions of the reptilian brain are hardwired in as a biological organism on Mother Earth, not going to go away. So instead of demonizing it, which I've been doing up till then, and then feeling a failure when it came out, all my years of meditation, it still comes out and gets triggered sometimes. What a failure I am! What a phony I am! So no, that's a vital part of who in all of us reptilian brain function. How to befriend it. So then I had to go inside myself and find it. Look at it face to face, where we're looking at right now, and it told me its name. And then I told it, I want to change my relationship to you. I've been demonizing you and making you a bad guy. I want to befriend you. And to the point where I can call on you to use your quick reactivity power in a positive way. So when my reactivity starts to get triggered, I can call on you to quickly jump out and swallow it up. Swallow up that toxic, negative, reactive energy, chew it up, spit it into the sacred fire, and then purify with the sacred plants. So that was the start of changing the relationship. And for me, it's part of my morning meditations, is connecting with Rex, is my name for reptilian brain, thanking it for its being, and setting up for the day. I befriend you as an ally to help me as soon as the first subtle vibrations of irritation or upsetness or impatience or judgment or trigger, you jump right in there, swallow that energy up, spit it into the fire, and come back to my intention, empowering my intention to live love now. So, daily work. Okay, well, hey,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to leave a little time to do a little ceremony here to juice ourselves up. And the next time we meet, let me just look at my June 17th, like this for the hour-long one, is June 17th. And I gave out homework last time, and which was to light the candle, connect with the Tatawadi light, and to say 5 times out loud, I'm a sacred, worthy, luminous being. I am love, and my love is forgiving. And to pay attention, mindful attention, as you were saying that, what came up inside of you as you said that. So I'm going to same homework. Do that again. Say it 5 times out loud, and this time listen inside yourself. What part of that do you feel resonance with? The sacred part, the worthy part, the luminous part. Just listen inside yourself. See what part you feel resonance with, what parts you don't feel resonance with, and then that's a clue about what you need to work with in terms of polishing up your starlight. And the same thing with the homework with your intention statement. Say your intention statement, your positive present tense statement of the qualities of consciousness and being that you want to have grow stronger. Because everything starts with intention. And as you say your intention out loud, your version of mine, I'm a joyful, kind, patient, fluidly flowing, grateful, adaptable, peaceful man of light and love. I'm one with the universe. I'm one with you, Yahoo, my intention statement. So say yours out loud and listen inside. So this is to what you feel resonance with, which of those qualities you feel resonance with, which ones you don't. And the ones you don't feel, there's your clue about what's direct your attention, what needs to be worked on. So that's the homework reflection question. And we got a few minutes left here. So let me invite you just to take a breath, let your eyes close. And with our eyes closed, just take a moment to bring awareness to being breathed. Ask Kayamari, the deer spirit, to gather all of us up and take us to the sacred medicine meadow. Practice presence. Practice presence. Presence is something to practice, being mindful with our attention focused in the moment on being present and returning, going through the doorway to return from the bus that the virus gave us, with awareness of how we want to return. And here in the Medicine Valley, in the Medicine Meadow, bringing our awareness down to our hearts, the organ of perception in our hearts, and dropping into that place of gratitude for the gifts of our lives. Whatever challenges we have, compared to 99% of what's going on for people in the world, we are like so fortunate, so lucky, so gifted with grace. So just taking a moment to bring awareness to our hearts beating, gratitude, all the powers of physical, physiological function inside of us, and strengthening our immune systems at this time. Create heart coherence, joining our hearts, minds, and spirits together. Gratitude for our lives. Gratitude for the opportunity and spirit you give us to be channels for your light and love, to polish up our starlight. How to polish our star so bright? Hold it up into the light. See, in the Medicine Meadow, the sun shining down upon us, helping us to empower our intentions, strengthen our intentions, grow our potential to be what I call wisdom warriors in this coyote universe, to live love now more consistently. That mantra. Get triggered in our reactivity, ask that question, activate the mantra. What would it look like? What would it feel like? Live love now. It's all about relationship. Let's just take a few moments to really be in an experience of presence, joining our hearts and minds and spirits together through time and space, focusing on what we have to be thankful for, gratitude, sending that gratitude out to the source, Great Spirit, the Great Mystery. Gratitude. And through that process, opening ourselves up, polishing up our starlight to be more open channels for the healing light and love that we are, and extending that into the field. To all the people that we know who don't have the gifts of grace that we have in our lives, and to each other for our challenges, extending that healing light and love out into the field, helping to contribute to the creation of a critical mass of energy to shapeshift the whole fear-based paradigm. Perception of reality is based on separation, to resonance with the truth of how the universe actually truly works, the interconnectedness, the interdependence of us all in cosmic oneness, the essence of which is love. And remembering, it's all about relationship, the web we weave so fine. It's all about relationship, the love we have to shine. It's all about relationship, the web you weave so fine. It's all about relationship, the love you have to shine. It's all about relationship, the web we weave so fine. It's all about relationship, the love we have to shine. Oh, Pomperios, we're right on time to close for now. So thank you for joining me, contributing to the empowerment of the energy field of the Starlight Ohana, polishing up our starlight. And what a gift it is to see you. So blessings on your life and all you hold dear in your heart. And I'll be back next Tuesday for the shorter version at 4 o'clock. It looks like probably the Tuesday ones at 4 will just be through the Facebook. And it's just a monthly one where it's longer here that it'll be through the three channels, the Facebook and Zoom
You too.
and YouTube. Yeah. So thanks for joining me in this experiment. And God us bless. Vaya con Dios. And thank you, Ronan, and thank all of you.
Igualmente, Tomás.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Tomas.
Once again, always.
Oh,
Thanks, guys.
I can.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody in attendance.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ronan.
Nice to be with everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ronan.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, Wendy.
Wedding!